Hey, peoples. Okay, it's another book review, and it's another Sarah J. Maas book review. Quick rant. So I started reading Tower of Dawn because I started Empire of Storms, and people were like, "Oh, you have to like read it together. It's kind of, you know, you just have to read it because there's this apparently there's some revelations in Tower of Dawn that would help inform Empire of Storms. And I'm thinking to myself, why this book was meant to be a novella, end up being a long ass book, but I started reading this book and I was like, oh, this is cool. I if any of you watch my previous videos, I'm a defender of Kale. Okay, I don't hate on him like everybody else does. I am Team Kale over Aelin. I don't like Aelin, but anyways, so I was really interested in Kale's journey, and especially with his spinal injury. I was like, oh my gosh, how's he gonna grapple with, you know, losing his ability to walk and fight, like just like the kind of like warrior that he was. But yeah, so we get the southern continent, and I actually really like that because it's like a different vibe from Rifthold or wherever the other books are set. Wendlin, Terrassen, like all these other places. Like I was like, oh, we're getting a different culture as well, because I was like, it's really hard to also see representation in terms of like race in fantasy books. Frankly speaking, I don't see too many like fantasy books with like a black female lead or black male lead, you know what I mean? Or, at least for me, except for now, like Tracy Dion's Legend Born and Blood Marked and Children of Blood and Bone. Those are like the two I know, but if I think more still are coming, but I don't really see a fairy story like that, like something like that. Like I don't see a fairy story really, some dark skinned badass as the main character. But anyways, it was nice to see that, like, oh, okay, there's a southern continent, seems to be like people of color. It was giving me Middle Eastern type vibes in terms of the setting. Could be wrong though. But yeah, so I was like, oh, cool. We're getting introduced to all these characters and everything. And I was like interested in Kale and Nesrine's dynamic because they started off this thing in Queen of Shadows. So I was like interested to see how it's going to go here. But of course, I should have known Sarah J. Maas. She always likes to give her characters multiple loves. Like, it's never just one person that they choose and they fight for. No. So, lo and behold, of course, Nesrine gets thrown off to the side and her own love story develops. And we get introduced to Irene. I don't know how you pronounce it. Irene, guess. Irene. And she was interesting enough, but I was just like, oh, here we go with the trope of enemies to lovers. Ugh. But anyways, I was really looking forward to seeing Nesrine and Kale kind of like, work through whatever they need to work through. But anyway, so she gets her own romance. But the book itself, I just found it so boring. I literally ended up DNFing it at like maybe 40%. I just could care less. I think when I just realized that, okay, Kale and Nesrine were not going to be a thing. They did not even have chemistry in Queen of Shadows, but nothing was developed in this book. Irene and Kale was just too predictable for me. I was just like, oh, it wasn't even interesting. Well, at least it was interesting to me. And yeah, the storyline was just not it. So I was like, okay, I'm done. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Tower of Dawn. I think she should have kept it as a novella. She really should have kept it as a novella. So then, because I didn't finish it, I decided to give myself spoilers for the book. And you find out some big info about Maeve. That she's a badder bee than we thought. She's a bad bee out here in these streets of Antica. But yeah. So because I DNF'd the book, I think I'm just gonna rate it a 2 out of 5 stars, so those are my thoughts on Tower of Dawn. Let me know what you guys think about this book. Toodles.